before we close this thing out, we want to emphasize that it's not only important to focus on social impacts, but the fact is you can do all that, but if you don't let people know, but when you let people know, it inspires other folks. And whether it's you create an hour-long documentary or some connective social media storytelling, how you message your good deeds is almost as important as the deeds themselves. And that's why I want to bring up colleagues and partners and friends, actually, Keith Gordon and Susan Jin Davis, to talk about how we can celebrate. They seem very reticent about this. We were planning this. You've got mics on. Come on. No, you just come up here and sit down. And we're going to talk about how we champion great content and storytelling. But first, let's roll the video and check it out.
Do you know me? Do you know him? What about her? I bet you think you know us, or maybe some idea of us. Did you know we have dreams? I want to go to college. My friends want to start their own businesses, be a writer, a doctor, maybe a professional basketball player. We're not always sure how to get there, but we're trying to figure it out. And we'll never stop trying, never give up. And it helps to know you have our back.
My role as a nurse this past year, it was horrible not having the family members be there when their loved ones couldn't take their last breath.
From the early days of the pandemic, nurses put their lives at risk and pushed through both physical and mental exhaustion day after day.
We were nonstop.
I think what we've seen this past year is that there are so many heroes among us, and any number of actions are heroic.
Nurses are the heart and soul of the healthcare community.
Their actions have been nothing short of heroic. This is American Nurse Heroes.
Roker Entertainment and the St. Louis Sports Commission and National Sportsmanship Foundation present a celebration of class and character, honoring the great one, Wayne Gretzky, National Spelling Bee champion Zaila Avantgarde, Major League Baseball's National League MVP Bryce Harper, and those who show extraordinary sportsmanship.
I became a fireman because my mom was saved from a fire.
Umberto decided to be a North Carolina State Highway Patrol officer. And then things just changed in an instant.
I was working the morning of September 11th.
He was rear-ended at 75 miles an hour.
On a mission and ran into an explosive device.
The misconception is that when a law enforcement officer is injured in the line of duty, they're going to get the best care and they're going to be taken care of for the rest of their life, and that is not what happens.
Letting the brain heal itself. So many people are suicidal. They have no hope. If you can give them 1 ounce of hope, then it's magic.
Don't give up, keep going.
That's it. Susan Jin Davis is our Chief Impact Social Officer for Roker Entertainment, and Keith Gordon is the President and CEO of Fight for Children. Thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it. So, hero content, champions, I think a lot of corporations now are whether it's doing the kind of things we've heard about, or whether it's as simple as having an all-hands volunteer day, I think companies now realize they need to do this. Susan, you used to work at Comcast Corporation and you saw that firsthand. Why is it important for companies now that they feel that now's the time to do this?
Well, I mean, Al, first of all, it's urgent, right? I mean, look at the state of the world. Look at the lack of peace, the lack of justice, the lack of equality, the effects of climate change. I mean, the first reason is we all have to do our part, and that includes corporations. And I think corporations have a unique ability because they have a platform to be able to talk broadly to a lot of people and get people educated, get awareness out there, and most important, they can get people to act. I mean, look at those videos we just saw. It touched our hearts, it made us inspired, and it made us think, what can I do just like those folks are doing? So it really makes us want to do something. And I think apart from that, people actually work at companies. So they are making decisions to work for companies based on whether that company has the values they have. Millennials and Gen Z, they will leave if the company is not dealing with social issues. And I think I saw something that said, 70% of young workers want to work for companies that are making a difference. So if you want to keep employees, if you want to attract the best employees, you better be doing good and you better be telling people about it. You better be telling your stories. And customers as well. They don't want to buy from a company that doesn't reflect the things they care about. And so business reasons, social reasons, but I think the most important thing, Al, is that we need a call to action. We need to do something, and why not have companies be on the platforms and educate us and tell us what we need to do and get us inspired.
Exactly. Keith, you're the president and CEO of Fight for Children, part of one of the clips we saw there. What does it mean for an organization like yours when corporations and folks get involved to amplify your message?
Well, it's really important for us. We're a DC-based organization. There's a lot of things in DC, but one that there's no shortage of are nonprofits. And everybody's competing for attention, they're competing for dollars, they're competing for mind share. So for us, in order to amplify our message and amplify our voice, we have to align with organizations that can take us to the same level and platform that they are. They have consumers, they have employees, they've got colleagues and partners and other businesses that they deal with. So if we can form a meaningful connection, if we can align on our vision and values and the things that are important to us, it allows us to really amplify our message well beyond what we might be able to do on our own, but it also allows us to have and create a community connection and a community of interests among not just the DC area, but wherever those organizations and those employees may live, work, or even spend their time. And that's just critical for any nonprofit, but for most organizations in general.
For folks who aren't familiar with Fight for Children, tell us about it.
Sure, we're as I mentioned, a DC-based nonprofit. We've been here about 32 years. We were founded on the belief that every child deserved an equal shot at a great opportunity. And whether that was education, whether that was healthcare, whether that was policy reform. About 8 years ago, we made a change to focus on sport-based youth development. It was really a nod to our late founder who credited the sport of boxing with helping to turn his life around and teaching him the lessons to really get his life back on track. And so today, we operate the region's only youth sports collaborative with 26 organizations across the district, Maryland and Virginia. We operate a sports medicine center that's focused on youth and adolescent treatment, prevention, rehabilitation, and social and emotional development. And we just proudly launched over 2 weeks ago our annual fundraising event called Fight for Children Honors, which with the help of our great friends at Roker Entertainment, had a very, very successful event in our first year. So we're looking at our next 30 years, and the way in which we do that is to not only endear ourselves to the community, ingratiate ourselves with the partners and corporations here, but really reflect the community that we live in, and you do that through a lot of the elements that you've helped us do.
For organizations like yourselves, why is it important to partner with content producers like Roker Entertainment or others for your message?
You know, it's so important because as I've been in these sessions all day, you know, the word data is used over and over and over, and data is absolutely mission critical for every organization. But data is also where you can lose a lot of people. And so to get people to really associate and really become emotionally invested in what you're doing, no matter what it is, storytelling is one of the most effective mediums. And if you can create a fan or a supporter by connecting with someone on an emotional level and inspiring them to want to be and reflect the change that your organization is trying to do, you know, there's really there's no end to the positive results that can bring.
Susan, you've worked with us and worked with other companies about messaging. What works, but more importantly, what doesn't work? Because we've seen some, you know, we've seen, I think we've produced some great shows, but there's also, you know, the stakeholders may have a different idea. So what works and what doesn't work?
Well, I mean, you know, I think you talked about, Keith, what works are stories. And that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about telling stories because we want to connect to people, either because people can say, oh, I can relate to that, or I can't relate to that, but maybe I need to learn more, or maybe I will actually want to do something when I hear that story. So that sort of really visceral, like just connection to our hearts and minds that I think are that's the way to do it. But at the end of the day, if it's not authentic, if it's not real, I think that's going to show up in the story. And the reason it shows up is because the public's not stupid, and the public includes our employees, our customers, our shareholders, our investors. You know, they're watching us, and we're modeling this behavior. So I think what doesn't work is if you're not doing the hard work inside, if you're not being good to your employees, if you're not thinking about what's right for your customers, if you're not investing in your community, I think that will ruin your story, and that is where companies can fail. But most of the time, I love to see companies doing good because it's contagious, and other companies want to do good too or do better. And I like the fact that it kind of creates a healthy competition on who can be the most ethical, best company out there. And that's when they see that these are real stories, these are real people, these are real impacts, and there's real change happening. There's real impact happening. And I think those are the stories we really need to tell more of.
You know, Keith, as we look at social media, we look at linear, digital, how has that changed the game for groups like yourself as going forward?
I think it's happened in a couple of ways. The first I would say is if you are proactively going out and telling your story and utilizing all these means to do so, you are able to construct it, you're able to change it when something happens. You know, if events happen, you're able to immediately go out there and put out a position or, you know, an appeal or whatever it might be. But the risk in not doing so and not controlling your story is that someone else controls your story for you and puts something out that, you know, either paints your organization maybe in a negative light or misleads the public or misleads, you know, other people to think one thing about your organization that isn't true or isn't accurate. And that can obviously have devastating consequences no matter what your business is, let alone a nonprofit in a crowded field. But I do think that social media and innovation in general, you know, innovation is sort of one of those words that, you know, years ago it sort of carried this giant connotation about, you know, being very, you know, bold and disruptive. I mean, innovation is simply just being able to feel comfortable thinking differently about things. And, you know, one of our colleagues was up here before saying if you think about doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, it's the definition of, you know, insanity. I mean, innovation is simply finding new ways to do things that, you know, you haven't maybe done before, or finding new ways to approach a problem and coming up with a different solution. Without it, you know, we'll go the way of the dinosaurs, you know?
You know, like here at Al Roker Entertainment, we work with Northwell Health, American Nurses Association, Life Aid, Research, ConAgra, Eckrich, AT&T. But Susan, talk to companies that might be thinking about this, but are maybe a little reticent, and groups like Keith's that are saying, well, am I selling out if I go to a brand to help us get our message out?
Well, I don't think there's a sellout. I actually think that there is a partnership that happens when corporations work with nonprofits, work with the community around an agreed upon goal of justice and equity, addressing climate change. I mean, to me, that is not selling out. That is building community, because every single one of us has to do it. And the thing I loved when I worked at Comcast, the thing I loved about the work we did in the community is we weren't just doing it ourselves. We were working with these amazing organizations and nonprofits who were on the ground helping people, building communities, improving the quality of life. And for us to be able to use our platform to talk about those good deeds happening, that nourished us as a company. That made us a better company because it made us think harder about what we should be doing ourselves as a corporate citizen. So, I mean, I really feel like it's important for us to think of things holistically, not what should I do alone, but rather how can I bring together people to the table of solutions around the biggest problems in the world. I mean, people are hungry, people are suffering from injustice, people do not have equal access to healthcare, we just talked about that, to opportunities. I mean, can we live with that? Are we okay with that? Or do we want to be a part of the solution and bring people together around a unified vision of what the world should be? That's why I think we need to do these stories. That's why I think companies should do it. That's why I think nonprofits should do it. And quite frankly, we should do it together.
Yeah.
I would just add, if I could, I think, you know, when you run an organization, as so many of you in this room do, you realize that there are areas where your strengths lie, and there are areas outside of your area of expertise that you will usually have to go out and outsource. And doing so sometimes has a negative connotation, but it's really important that if you're going to break through the clutter, if you're going to actually do something at the level for which the consumers today expect, you have to be able to find and identify and partner with those people to help you get there. It's better to get there in a year than take 10 years and all of the time, effort, and money that it takes to get there and realize you didn't actually get where you wanted to be after all that time. So it's part of innovation. You have to be bold, you have to be unafraid, you have to be a bit unapologetic, take some chances. Not everything's going to work out, but if you find the right partners and you find an alignment of mission and goal, ultimately it's amazing what you can achieve, and it's amazing how along the way people will start to become a lot more attracted to the things that you're doing and want to take part of it.
That's perfect. Keith, Susan, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Keith, Fight for Children. Susan, our Chief Equity Officer and Social Impact Officer at Al Roker Entertainment. We want to thank you. We want to thank you as well for being here. Our Al Roker Entertainment is here at the Social Impact Summit, so look for and talk to our folks. Denise Hurst Green, who handles our DEI branded content. Could you stand up, Denise, just so people have an idea where you are? I've mentioned Rick Angeli, who works with brands to tell their story, otherwise known to everybody at our company as Uncle Fester. And John Burke. Is John's around here somewhere there? John, the poorly dressed gentleman over there, who develops digital strategy. Frank Connolly, one of our producers, is not here, but he's really terrific. And of course, Susan Jin Davis, who is our Social Impact Officer. And we also want to thank everybody at the Social Innovation Summit, notably Natasha Barron, Zach Miller, Zeev Klein, and Lavika Matwani, who also arranged for the podium, which was very special. Actually, I have no idea if she arranged that, but you can connect with Al Roker Entertainment on LinkedIn and all social media platforms, and you can also visit us at alrokerentertainment.com. It has been a thrill having you with you. I hope you enjoyed the Al Roker experience. Wake the neighbors, tell the friends. It's a lovely thing. It's available wherever fine toys are sold. Thank you so much.